And we're live. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the Life Matters podcast. If you don't know, I am Kiana Monroe. And as you know, Life Matters starts with self, life, loving yourself first. And this is a podcast where we talk about how to balance yourself from the inside out, how to love yourself from the inside out, how to understand the process of NLP, which is the power of thought, right? And your emotional, mental health and wellness. So let's jump into it with my darling. Listen, it was like pulling teeth getting him on. Pulling teeth getting him on here, but he's here. Welcome, 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 my dear friend. Also, uh, really big on talking about relationships, Mr. Fawn Davis. How are you?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you for inviting me on. I was
Thank
I
you.
was looking
Thank you
forward to
so
this
much.
all ever since we talked. So glad to be here.
Oh, really? So, if you guys don't know, if you're not following him, I'll give you all the information. But I've done a live twice,
Twice. That's right.
twice with Ryan. We talked about like some nitty gritty relationship stuff. So I had to drag him in because guys, it's June and I am focusing on men's health, like full circle, mind, body, soul, physical, everything. And that's basically full circle. And that's what I'm going to talk to Vaughn about today. That's what I'm talking to you about today.
All right. I'm ready.
Right. So, with everything going on, right, in this current stage, how do you feel like it's tough to maintain balance with all your relationships? That's with your friends, if you're dating and your family, work, all of that. How important is it to have that? Is it a challenge?
It definitely is a challenge. You have so many different people and if we're throwing job and other things, social media, you have so many things pulling
Mm,
at you. So and I take my social media like a part-time job. So I
yeah.
definitely have different priorities pulling at me. So finding that balance,
Hmm.
um, if I'm being completely honest,
Hmm.
was a work for me, especially when I came into the social media space, because there's a group of people that now rely on information or that exchange that I try not to leave hanging. So it definitely is a balancing act.
Yeah, I feel like. Do you feel like one is more important than the other? How do you rank your relationships, if
Right,
you
right,
could
right,
rank
right. So
like all of them?
definitely family is first.
Okay, okay.
Family is first. Um, I do I do try to tap into my spiritual side. I will say that I do find a harder time balancing that. I am trying to currently trying to get incorporate that a little bit more. But family for me, family is first, and then everything else is second. Because I remember someone telling me that he was either talking to his grandfather. He was telling me of a story where he
Mm.
said that he would ask the older gentleman on his deathbed if he had to do one thing over again, what would he have done? And it wasn't work more hours, make more money, go on more vacations. It was spend more time with his family. So, and I just heard this story maybe about a year or two ago, and that really stuck with me. So, yeah, family first. Family first. Everything else will fall in line.
Where do you feel like most men kind of come out of place when it comes to prioritizing their relationships?
Well, I could tell you, for me and just the gentleman that I talked to, right, we
Mhm.
prioritize just because of societal pressures or just familial pressures. It's all about our career for a lot of us, especially when we're in that building phase, right?
Yeah.
So in our 20s, especially in our 20s and 30s, when we're building, and into our mid 40s as well. It's not until we get into that 50, 55, 60 is when we kind of like the tide start turning a little bit. But I
Hmm.
believe now with the pandemic that happened, a lot of people are getting more focused on their families, especially not knowing that uncertain times. So the jobs and the careers kind of took a backseat, and I kind of appreciate that, finding that silver lining. So for all my guys that's listening to this, the real focus, the real health. We all know health is wealth, but sticking to that family is wealth too.
Right.
Yeah.
So you know how there's a little saying, and I know you've heard it because you talk to men and women all the time, right? There's a thing that's called, they say, bros before hoes,
Right.
right? Or
Right.
get your money, focus on your bag, all that other stuff. So
Right.
they make the career or the relationship with their friends more important than the relationship with a significant other.
Right.
Is that healthy or unhealthy? Why or why not?
So I would say, just being completely honest, it is based off the individual, right? I will say for the majority of people, and there's been countless studies that people go further with a partner that pushes them than they do alone. That's not to say that there's many people who are solo acts, they built things, but if you look at the top 1% earners or top 10%, they usually have a significant other, be it a significant partner behind them that's pushing them and challenging them along the way. So, in my personal opinion, I think it's definitely whoever made that saying, bro, it was probably a younger person in college who didn't know no better. But I would say definitely you'll go further with a partner who's equally yoked than you will solo.
I agree because you know
Yeah.
what? When it comes to, I think, relationships with men, based off what I've seen with like my parents, my dad always says, your mother has been an asset to me, not just for my career, but your mom makes sure that I go to my doctor's appointments. Your
Right.
mom makes sure that my health is where it's supposed to be. Your mom makes sure that in areas where I'm slipping or, the world is a hard place, she's I always say be a soft landing to a hard fall, right?
Right.
My mom is all those things to my dad. So I think that it's really important to find someone that is good for you on top of everything else, right? So in regards to full like a good balance, I would say make sure you have a good one. Yes, making sure you're walking in your purpose. Yes, make sure that you're focused on your careers, with your career, right? Have some type of spiritual balance. That can be going to church every day, which I don't do, right? I don't go to church no every day, but I do spend time with nature. I need to
Right.
ground myself. I have a level of intimacy with myself. That's really, really important. And I make sure that the love for myself is reflected in the world, and how I balance those things are kind of key for me.
And I'll even add to that point. I like we're on this whole balancing thing, uh, and it's all about multiply. Everybody knows if you find a partner who's a good thing, that's like I said, equally yoked to you, who balances you out. And guys know if you give a woman anything, she's gonna multiply it. She's gonna multiply.
Boom.
So if you find a good one, you better hold on to them because they're worth their weight in gold. You give them one, they'll bring back 10. You give them 100, they're going to bring back 1,000.
Yeah.
So even if you are what you think is at the crescendo or you're at the top of your game, meet that one. Meet that one, and I guarantee they'll 10x it if not 100x it, no matter where you're at.
Boom. I agree. No, because that's well said. I think
Right.
that sometimes when trying to balance this thing called life, sometimes we spend way too much on the career. But you know what? I met someone who was like so in love with his family. Not that it's a bad thing, but like he took mama's boy to like the tenth power, and he was raised by grandma, and with raised with sisters, and raised with mom. So when it was work and career, then it was my mom, my grandmother, my sister, right? And the woman came even after that. So the woman came back and said, work, but if she's not acceptable to my family, and if she can't get in this grind with me for work, then that doesn't matter. So technically, I think it's off balance when you make a woman last on your
Right.
list compared to everything else. You make significant other last. God should be first. You should be next, right? And then a significant other because you don't want to do this thing called life on your own.
Absolutely
But
not.
ain't no woman gonna compete with your mama and your grandmama and your sister.
And anybody who makes, like you said, it's all about balance. Anybody who even makes that a thing, that should be nipped in the bud, right? It doesn't. You're gonna live with this person. I always say, so no matter what. So you're at a cookout, right? Your mom's arguing, your girl's arguing, your sister. Who you going home with? Who you going home with? Now, if you're going home with your mama, then you better be team mom. If you live with your sister, you better. But for the most part, we're going home with our partners.
Really?
So you better be team partner. You better be on that woman's team, right? That's the one you're going home with. So yeah, gotta ride. You gotta ride
Let
with
me
who you
tell you
came
something.
with.
Even if you're going home to your mama,
I know. I know.
you keep choosing your mama first, you're gonna stay going home to only
You're
your
gonna be
mama.
right. Right. That's a fact. That's a fact.
That's gonna be your ride or die forever. But
Right.
balance, balance. Yes, spend enough time with with your mother, but then make sure that you don't put her ahead of your woman, your significant other, because yeah, that's who you go home with. And yes, you can go to work, right? But when you make work more important than the relationships in your life, then technically you're not necessarily living. And another thing, since we're talking about full balance here, it's also important, which a woman is great to have for, but to focus on your health, your physical health. Make sure you're going to the doctor. Make sure you're taking care of your body and things like that, and make that a priority. And there's so many men, especially, and it's mine,
Right.
black and brown men, Latin and African American men seem to not add doctor's appointments to that balancing pot. Why do you feel I do are you that way?
Right.
And if not, or if so, why or why not?
So I'm lucky that I have a partner who makes sure that pushes me. So anytime I let her know, hey, I have this appointment, she's on it. Did you go to that appointment? As a matter of fact, I'm going to that appointment with you. She comes from the medical field, so she stays on me about those. So I will say, traditionally, I have been terrible about that. Like you
Mhm.
said, like most men or a lot of men, especially in our community. But to the point that we've been making, you find you somebody who will push you and challenge you in all areas, not just the areas that you want to be challenged in, but the ones that you find more difficult to talk about. She challenges me in many, many ways, which balances me out because too much of one thing is a bad, right? So she definitely uh, finds where my shortcomings and challenges me. And unfortunately or fortunately, that's one of my shortcomings, keeping up with my health. But again, I have a partner that challenges me in that way.
That's really good.
Yeah.
At around what period in your life did you feel like, you know what, I need to get more organized. I'm off balance with life. This flow of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it is not good for me and it's not working. I'm too much of just one thing and I'm not really enjoying my life full circle.
You know what? I'm gonna be honest. I'm still trying to find that right fine tune it, but
Mm-hmm.
I can remember vividly when I was it was 2012, so I was around 32, and I
Mm-hmm.
had two children, and I wanted more children at that particular time, and I just found myself working two jobs, barely being home, barely being there for my younger two. So how can I
Mm-hmm.
be there for an additional two? So I really around 32 took it more seriously to
Mm-hmm.
find that balance and not just stick to just working, but find that balance between family and work. So I would say around my mid 30s. However, I'm still in my early 40s. Still, it's a challenge for me.
I mean, we all, as I always say, leave room to better your best. You know, as we evolve and we grow, we're going to learn to add a couple things. We'll notice something. We're like, you know what? I need to make some changes here. I need to make
Absolutely.
some adjustments here. I need to start doing this more. I need to, shift and evolve in this area. I remember what my life was like when there was no balance. Everything was all things work, all things getting all my degrees, right? All things just focusing on my achievements, right? And then the next thing on my list, me as a mom, was my kid.
Mm-hmm.
Relationships were all the way at the bottom. I didn't really have a lot of friendships because I didn't really make time for my friendships. Um, and I didn't spend a lot of time with family. The only time they saw me was if there was a holiday, I'd be there,
Right.
right?
Right.
But I wasn't spending real quality time and it was off balance. And I felt like, all right, something's missing in my life. But what was missing for me was fulfillment in all
Mm.
areas of life. I didn't feel fulfilled. And that's because I was so narrow focused on achievements. And sometimes when all you focus on is the bag and achieving, right? Then you miss the rest of your life. And I'm not a man, right? So I'm going to ask you this, but sometimes I notice that, and I had a friend of mine say, there's a lot of pressure on the man to be successful more than the woman. So I gotta be on it. I'll focus on getting a wife when I get it. When I make a certain amount of money, I'll worry about chilling with my friends or whatever. I gotta make this bag. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. When I do have kids, or if they have kids, I gotta make sure that I'm bringing enough in and I'm doing this because I'm the head of household and I'm the leader and all the pressure on me and society says this and I'm like, ooh,
Right.
ooh, like why so much pressure to be so focused on one thing and let everything else fall behind? Does that make sense? Does that relate in
I,
any way?
I've definitely fell victim to that.
Okay.
I very bad to the point where when I was uh, talking to other people, I would secretly ask because I was insecure.
Mm-hmm.
Just try to ask, how much you got? How much do you make? Because my whole thing was, and I'm still, and some people might rock with me on this. Some people might not. I'm okay now after talking to many people, especially here where I live. There's so many like in Atlanta. There's so many people who are doing really, really well for themselves, and I do okay. I'm still a work in progress. So as long as we're in the same tax bracket, I'm
Mm-hmm.
okay. But when you start doubling and tripling, and then it's kind of like, all right. So I definitely feel those pressures. Um,
So wait, are you talking about you ask men what they make or you
no,
ask
no. I,
women?
I don't care what a man makes.
Okay.
I'm
You
talking,
ask the woman.
I'm talking about being the man and and asking potential partners
Mm-hmm.
before, like how a roundabout way, like trying to fill out how much they made, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if they were talking about three, four, half a mil, then I was like, ugh, like looking at them kind of sideways. But now I'm to the point where I have somebody who does really really well for themselves. It now challenges me, right? So
Uh-huh.
it's not a competition, but it is inspiration. I look at it as inspiration, and not a challenge. So I don't feel that way like I did before,
Mm-hmm.
but that's only because I'm secure in my relationship. We're secure where we're both at. So to me, societal pressures are going to be societal pressures, but no one can dictate when two people come together what
Mm-hmm.
their relationship is supposed to look like, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be you and that person versus everybody else. And once you start drowning out the noise, start drowning out because you don't know what is going on in everyone's household. We have these 30 seconds and 15-second snippets of
Yeah.
what people's lives are supposed to look like, or that we have these 140 character snippets of what someone's life is supposed to be like, but we don't know what happens when that camera turns off or that tweet gets tweeted. We don't know what happened before, and we don't know what happens after. So
Yeah.
it's only
Yeah.
it's you and that person versus everybody else.
Why do you feel like most men do that for the most part, where they are mainly focused on the career as the head of household and the leader of the relationship, the whole focus for like the first, they're all in their 20s or maybe 20s and half of their 30s is all about career first, not balance, career, career, career.
Right. It's just because what we were taught. Again, it's society, right?
Hmm.
We're taught we have to be the providers,
Hmm.
but and it's just left there. It's not left. What are you supposed to be? What are the provisions that you're providing? Right. You're supposed to be
Hmm.
providing spiritually, mentally, physically,
Emotionally.
emotionally, all of that, right? But
Hmm.
we get so caught up and so wrapped up in the financial aspect, we forget about the other stuff. So we kind of, it's like working one muscle group, right? And then you see these guys with these big arms, but their legs are tiny, right? Or they have big legs, and that's what we come into our 30s and our 40s as, right?
Hmm.
We're really really developed in one area of our lives, and then we're very very lacking in other aspects. So and that's where we're kind of we get thrown off. Where women have a more, I guess, balanced approach because they're not told to be the sole providers. They're told to work on themselves, and it's okay for them to tap into those other aspects of their lives in it uninhibited, right?
Hmm.
Where if we tap into our emotional side in our 20s, we're shunned and looked down upon. So we have to, in our culture, develop this one area because it's kind of like a competition in a nasty sort of way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in an unhealthy, very toxic sort of way.
A very unhealthy and toxic way. Um, how does being unbalanced affect the relationship? How does it affect your relationship
Woo!
if it has, being unbalanced and all those things you just named, being
Right,
able to provide full circle, right? That means your life first has to be balanced, right? And then bringing somebody into that. If you're unbalanced, right, you're not taking care of your health, you're not taking care of your finances, you're not taking care of your spirit, your mind, right? You're not taking care of your mental and emotional, right?
right,
You don't have friends that you really spend time with. You don't spend time with any of your family. It's just off balance. How does that impact and affect your
right.
relationship?
It really stunts your growth, and a lot of people find that a lot of women find that they need to date older because of maturity reasons, right? And I believe that because again, men are so underdeveloped. By the time, let's say, I'm just going to use a number, and there are numbers out there, so I'm just going to use this as a number to throw out there.
Yeah.
We could be 40, but have the maturity of, let's say, a 32-year-old woman, right? Or even less sometimes. So that is kind of where we kind of balance a little bit. Not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying what is reality.
Yeah.
So if a lot of times when a man is the same age as a woman, they are thrown off, and they're not equally yoked in a lot of different areas. So a lot of times men do have to find women who are a little bit younger, a little bit more immature in areas that they are the same maturity level as.
I agree.
Yeah.
Right, and then that makes sense. That whole age gap and that age difference, women do tend to date. I've always wanted to date a few years older, but
Right.
even now in the relationship I'm in now, he's 44, I'm 40, but I still find my way of teaching him a lot of
Right.
things that he didn't learn because there are certain areas. Because for me, being having a balanced life and putting a lot of coins in each, bucket, they kind of weigh the same. So it's like smooth sailing. There's not one area of my life that's way up here and then
Right.
the rest of it is like jacked up. I'm not focused on my career to the point where my health suffers because of that. My
Right.
relationship with my friends suffer. It's not perfect, right? But I'm not striving for perfection. I'm striving for balance. And dating older, there are so many men that I've noticed haven't taken that time to say, you know what? Let me make sure I'm on my health, not just fitness. I don't want you to just have muscles, right? But you dealing with kidney failure and you drinking so much. that you got liver damage. Because I look at it this way: if you don't take care of your health, then I can't be, well, I'm hesitant to be with
Okay.
you, right? Because you are putting me in a situation where I'm going to have to deal with a whole lot as we get old, because you
Right.
didn't want to do any of your work, because you didn't balance out your money and your finances. So now I'm carrying the weight of that. You're never, really considering and putting the coins in your bucket of mental health, right? So now you are bleeding all over me, and I didn't cut you, and now there's so much work. You know what I mean?
Right.
So with all of that, at what age do you think men should start working on a good balance? Because there are guys of all ages working on here. So what age is the best age to start?
I would say the earlier the better. But for maturity reasons, just for maturity reasons, I would tell a guy as soon as they hit their 30s, right?
Mhm.
Because I think, and anyone can correct me if I'm wrong. They can put it in the comments, or just let me know. But like the men's frontal lobe is not even developed until like they're past their 30s, or so.
Yeah.
It would be not a waste, because some people, some men are more mature earlier, and they are able to comprehend and grasp the concepts. But I just think from a maturity standpoint, they're not even men are not even ready until they're 30. So I think it would just be you just be spinning your wheels. So go out, get as much education as possible. I'm a big believer in education, and go out and do some exploring, see the world,
Mm. Yeah.
and get some cultures, some different cultures, and then yes, and get your career. And then when you start hitting around, you start hitting around that 30, I think you should really start doing the work. However, I wouldn't wait till 30. So whenever they are ready, but I would tell most men, when you start getting 30, or start approaching 30, really start doing the work to balance yourself out, because you're so imbalanced by that time. You need a lot of work. You're not ready to bring on a partner full time. So yeah, as soon as they start getting close to that 30 age, then they need to start doing that work, and then go out and find their life partner.
Do you think that starting with therapy is ideal?
I would tell everybody to first start with therapy.
Really? Why
I
is that?
believe in our community, especially where no matter where you were raised, we all suffer from some PTSD. And that's just what I believe, right? No matter what community you grew, we all have different experiences. Whether you grew up on the East, Central, West Coast, it does not matter. Start with a therapist, and then branch out from there into the different aspects and areas of your life, for sure.
I agree, because I think the reason why I agree is because I think that starting with therapy will help you kind of take the lid off, right, and see what comes out, and then turn it over, see what spills out, and see, like, okay, is this a mess? Is it more of a mess in my finances? Is it more, am I holding on to grudges and unforgiveness?
Right,
Am I hanging on to baggage with friends? Should I cut the fat off? Am I holding on to friendships that, are a detriment to, like, the future I say I want? Um, those things are really important. And sometimes with therapy, it gives you a mirror, and makes you look at your life by looking at yourself, and taking the time to sit with that before getting into a relationship. You might not even be in the career field, feeling like your life has purpose.
right,
But with therapy, you can say, you know what? I'm not fulfilled. I'm not doing this. I'm actually people pleasing. I took this job on for my father, or I took this career on, or I took this path because what? Or, actually, I want to go back to school. I want to go back to, I don't care what people think about the age I am, and so on and so forth, right? So therapy can help start in that area of figuring out what area you need to start pouring into, or putting coins in your bucket to fill them up. So because the benefit is, kind of the aftermath. right?
Right. Right.
Everyone gets to benefit, right, from a healed and balanced version of who you are,
Ab-
especially as a man, especially
Absolutely.
as a leader.
It's like you ever start any process. It could be I don't know, a job interview or a project, and they start off with, "Does anybody have any questions?" It's kind of like with therapy. You don't know what you don't know. However, once you start in that therapy session, then
Mhm.
you start unmasking and uncovering all of these things that you were either known or unknown about yourself. And then you say, you know what? I never even knew that I was this way. And then you start uncovering, and oh, the reason why I'm this way is because this happened when I was 14 or 7 or whatever, or I had this
Mhm.
traumatic experience, or I had this experience, which is the reason why I am this way. And then you start getting tools and resources available to you to either help push you along further, if that's a good characteristic or trait, or help give you the tools and resources that you need to correct those issues.
Yeah, because one of the things I think too is when you don't take time to know you and know all the things about you, you're not going to know all the things about you. Let me correct
Right.
that. You're not
Right.
going to know all the things about you. But once you get into a relationship, right, or you get into a career, so on and so forth, you've been in it for a long period of time, and I think they call this the midlife crisis, right? You look at your life, you didn't spend any time focusing on you and all the areas to have a fulfilled life, and then you, like, in your 40s, you're just like looking around like, I don't like it here. I
Right.
don't really like her. Like, I love her, but I don't like her. Like, why did I choose her? I don't like this career. Why did I pick this career? I don't, technically, my friends don't have my back. They're not supportive. Why am I holding on to these friendships? Why do I keep trying to please my family and my parents, or hold on, or keep these relationships, or so on and so forth? You know, why am I not spending enough time with God? Why am I not, like, why? And then it kind of ruins, well, not necessarily ruin, I don't want to say, that's not the right
Correct.
word, but it makes it a challenge to get out of a situation that you've been in for such a long time, and now you have to grow and evolve in a relationship. But you have to know, well, you have to be aware that the person that you're in a relationship with may not want to grow and evolve with you.
And that's super tough. Super tough when you're, especially when you guys live in the same household and you guys are growing in opposite directions, or you have one person who's unwilling to go down that road with you, right? So it
Mhm.
is imperative. It's imperative that you do the work before you come together. Um, in that you start exploring some of those. Well, what if this happens? What if that happens?
Yeah.
Are you prepared? If I haven't taken care of myself for 40 years, are you prepared to take care of me if something happens in the next couple of years? You have to know these things
Yeah.
going into that. So yeah, it's imperative.
Yeah, I always say, try to find out what area, when dating, someone's life is out of balance, and
Right.
see if that's somewhere, if that's something in that somewhere area is a place where you can accept. Like, if somebody's not good with their finances, they don't know how to balance their checkbook, they don't know, they're not good with money, that's just not an area that they focus on. They want to spend, they want to splurge, they're not looking to, save, they're not looking to a 401k, they're not looking into any type of investments or anything like that. That's something that you have to pay attention to, that he's not being responsible with that, and you might have to take on that burden. If they're never going to the doctor, or if you don't see them going to the dentist, are you going to be okay with kissing somebody that got dentures?
Right.
Are you
Right.
going to be okay with somebody who eventually has health problems, because that is not a priority for him? He doesn't have any relationships with anyone other than you. Is that something that you want to deal with, because he hasn't made relationships important? I think the relationships that you have are a reflection of your character. So I usually want to see who the guy I'm dating with. Let me meet your friends. Let me see, the type of company that you keep, what
Right.
type of language, what type of, behavioral habits and things of your circle do you tolerate and you find acceptable, or so on and so forth. you know
Absolutely.
Let me see handle your family and your mother and the women in your life and things like that's that balance. They take pride in saving money and having assets. They take pride in their friendships and their relationships with their family. They take pride in the fact that they're well read and they're educated and they care about their education in their mind. They take pride in the relationship that they have with God, and they've built these characteristics, right, in their value structure, and have their identity, which is like their self-concept. That is so important, and it takes time to cultivate, you know, a good relationship in each area,
Oh,
relationship
yeah.
with money, relationship, like all of these things are relationships, right? Balance of relationships in life. And I know it's not popular, like you said, in society. You got social media and all this stuff going on. They got bro codes and stuff like that, and
Oh, yeah.
whatever the case may
I break
be.
them all. I break all the bro codes. I think I'm
You
kicked out.
know, listen, break the mold, break the code, all of that. I always say, you know, how flatlined are you? How flatlined are you? You know what I'm saying? And some people are like, oh, I don't care. I spend money, I make it back. You know what I'm saying? Or I don't, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Doctor schmachter. I don't want to see no doctor. I'm uncomfortable. I don't want, them.
That's cute.
I
That's
don't
cute.
want to
Good 20.
cough in somebody's. I don't know, like men's doctor's appointments, the things that you have to do.
Right.
Do you think women don't like going to get mammograms, but we do it? It's part of the health and wellness of ourselves, it's full balance.
Right.
And like social media and society makes it really hard.
Makes it hard. It makes it
Makes it
hard. Again, we're
hard.
living in these 15, 30-second clips, which is just a glimpse, and it's a determined glimpse, right? So when I go on social media, I prep, right? Even for me doing this podcast with you, people don't know what's on to the left and to the right and to the front. They only see what's behind me because this is a prop that I set up for here, just like on social media. So I believe nothing on social media. I only believe um, when I talk to somebody and I know that they're genuine and authentic. Like I was telling you, um, when I get offered to come on people's programs and podcasts, I do a lot of research about who they are. But we spent so much time talking and I didn't ask you any questions. You said, "Come, I'll be here." You let me know when. No questions asked, right? So you do have to get to know the person, develop those relationships, and like you said, if you want to really know who somebody is, see the people that they hang around.
Hmm.
That'll tell you a lot. Won't tell you everything you need to know, but it will fill in. It'll put in a couple puzzle pieces around that person for you for sure.
I agree. I agree
Yeah.
wholeheartedly. I'm so glad that you're here. So really quickly,
Yep.
I I understand the world that we live in,
Hmm.
right? I understand the pressures of society. I understand that when men go out into the world, it's you got to put your armor on and so on and so forth. What does it take? What do you feel like it takes for a man to take his armor off and feel like it's okay for me to work on myself, all of myself, and I'm going to be okay? I don't have to wear armor all the time.
Right. I'll speak for myself. It took me being in a comfortable space with myself first,
Hmm.
comfortable with who I am. I'm this way, and um, whatever another man thinks about me or another woman who has no influence, really true influence over my life, I don't really care, right? I care about what my family and my close, intimate friends think about me, nothing else. Um, I think that's what it takes, and it's going to take a safe space for them to then open up, right? So I'm not just going to go to any therapist. I bet whoever I speak with, um, when I talk to them, it's not just okay, let me just open up like, no, no, no. Let's talk a little bit. Let me find out a little bit about you. You tell me a little, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. once I'm comfortable and I know that this is a safe space, that you're not just gonna, oh, guess who I got? I got Sirvon Davis. He's one of my clients. No, 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 no. We're not doing that, right? Let's talk. Let's get to know each other. Once I know that it's a safe space, then let me open up. So I think it's about having creating safe spaces, especially for men, because again, we have to have that armor, right? And I'm to the
Mm-hmm.
point now. Again, I'm a little bit older.
Mm-hmm.
By these gray hairs, you can tell that I don't have anybody in my circle that does not make me feel safe.
Mm.
If you come into my circle, or if I come into a circle, and for whatever reason, I have kids and a family to go back home to, if I don't feel safe, I'm out of there. That was not the case in my 20s, right? It was cool to be in circles, to be in areas and clubs and environments where it wasn't safe. Just to say, oh, I was there. Oh, I did that. No, no, no. I'm not there. I'm not doing that. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm only going to be in spaces, whether that's, again, emotionally, financially, educationally, any space that I'm going to be in is going to be a safe space.
Wow, that's really important. I didn't think about that, trying to just say, I've been there, I was there, I was at that spot, I showed up, you know what I
What?
mean? And not subjecting yourself to situations and places and spaces that would make you feel like you need to question and compromise your character and your integrity, or put you in a situation where you ruin your relationship with your spouse, or or your family, ruin your career and your job. A lot of times, social media, you have social media now, right? People do things and they make choices and decisions, and then it's all over the place. Now they done lost their job, or now they done lost their family, or not, because they didn't prioritize the things that were supposed to matter and that was supposed to be important, you know, with their life. And it's just, a lot of times it's just to kind of people please. They don't think about
That,
the safety
that's
and
it. It's
importance.
all the people, please.
People pleasing,
Right.
and you are out of pocket and out of balance when one area in your life is, I don't like to use the word failing
Hmm.
necessarily, because I feel like no one is a failure. People say you got to fail first and fail quick. Well, no, you gotta make some mistakes.
Yeah.
You got to make some mistakes, and mistakes are proof of effort. It's the receipt of trying, right?
Right.
And there's opportunities. Mistakes are opportunities to learn and grow. But making consistent mistakes that are the same as they've always been, and not making new mistakes, right, are now patterns and habits. And not caring about your well-being, not caring about who you have in your life, you just letting anybody run through your bedroom, not caring about who you bring home to your mom, not
Mm.
caring about who you let into your space, that's your friends, that's spouse, that's whomever, and not caring about you know managing your finances and caring for your health and things like that. Those things are mistakes that
Right.
usually will lead to your downfall if you don't make them a priority in some way, shape, or form. And it's so sad, because I feel like a lot of times we lose some of our men to health situations that could have been prevented.
All the
Um,
all the time.
right? I've seen plenty of guys say, I got evicted, or I lost my home, or whatever, because they spent so much money spending. Now they're in debt, or now they don't have it, or their car got repossessed because they weren't managing a whole lot of things that were supposed to be a priority in their life. They lost their significant other, or whatever the case may be. So I really encourage men to find a way to gain a healthy balance in your life. Who cares what they say on social media? Who cares what other people are doing? Believe it or not, it's popular to have your shit together.
Right. 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 Right.
It's starting to get popular to have your shit together. So I want to ask you, before I let you
Yeah.
go, if you could give any advice to men out there who feel like, you know, I got to be on the grind and get my ducks in a row, but I got to make sure I get the bag first. Or, you know, I got to make sure I do one thing, or I don't have time to go to the doctor all the time, or I don't have time. Like my friends have been with me since I was a kid. I know they ain't no good, but they've been my ride or dies and blah blah blah. That whole unbalancing of
Yeah,
every relationship in your life. What would you say to them to get them on a road of balance?
I would say in order to live your best life, you have to find that balance. In whatever areas is creating that imbalance, work on that. Right? Really, really work on it. You have to work on your other areas, but if there's an area, let's say you're good with your finances or you're good with your emotions, but you're terrible with relationships or you're terrible with in other aspects, you still need to work on your finances and fine tune your emotions, but really, really work on those areas. If there's people in your life that's causing you stress, undue stress, you have to cut those people off, even if they're family, right? Even if they're family, because that is creating an imbalance. And sometimes you have to love people from a distance, and that is okay because when
Yeah.
when you're in the grave and they're talking about they should have did X, Y, and Z, you're in the grave and they're talking about what you should have did. So you have to look out for yourself first, and then those who you love and care about after that. So, and in order to look after those you love and care about, you have to look after yourself, or if you're not going to be here to look after them.
Yeah. That's perfectly
Yeah.
said. I ain't got nothing after that. I don't got nothing after that. All right. So let everybody know if they want to follow you and find you and get more information from you. Where would they find you?
So you can any social media platform. It's just Sirvon Davis, common spelling, just Sirvondavis on any social media platform. You can reach out to me. If you talk to me, I talk back. That's what I tell everybody. I'm not so high and mighty that you say something that you'll never get it. You talk to me, I will definitely talk back to you.
All right. Okay, guys. So I hope you took all the gems, all the nuggets, and all the good information coming from this amazing, amazing leader that I respect so, so, so much. If you have any questions, reach out to him. He talks back. But until then, remember to have a healthy, balanced life, right? Love yourself first enough to balance your relationships so that you can have a balanced life and walk that road. It's a journey. All right, guys, until next time, see ya.